What is up, football fans? It is your main man, Prime. I lost the COVID beard. I don't even recognize my face. But I want to welcome everybody to Prime's Fantasy Island. For sure, where I'm going to talk about fantasy football. I know I'm on a Raider page, and I love those Raiders too, man. Even though I don't have a favorite team, I just got teams I like. My favorite team is still my fantasy team. Now, I know you guys are like, why is Prime doing a fantasy show? Well, I'll be honest with you. I've had a lot of success with fantasy football, man. It's part of the reason I'm the kind of fan I am today. That's right. So, let's see. DePlane, what up, Kenya? What up, Kamish? What up, Joe? Good to see some people out there. Of course, don't forget to follow Raider Reaction on all of our platforms, including Instagram as well as YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook and become a supporter. So I can do things like, hey, Canyon, you the man, you know? So, anyway, come at me with any fantasy football questions you have. I'll be honest and I'll give you the straight answer. I'll do what's best for your team. Anything you want to know. Of course, I do want to just go over a few things. You know, like there are some players that they are situation proof. Like it doesn't matter where they're playing, whether they're home or away. It doesn't matter if they're, you know, yes, Jason, the Raiders, I know, but we're talking about the league right now. We're talking about fantasy football, Jason. So if you have any fantasy football questions, please let this know. There we go. Someone actually tried to call me, man. What is this? What is this? Anyway, yeah, if you have any fantasy football questions, I'll be the man to answer those things. I've had a lot of success. I've won multiple championships. I've won lots of money. I play 2 to 5 fantasy football teams or fantasy football leagues every year. This year I'm only doing 2 because, you know, it's kind of a different kind of season, if you know. In fact, this is the most, man, is everything in the NFL right now just totally up in the air? Like, no one knows. This is the most crazy league or season we're ever going to have. You know, right now, the Houston Texans and the Chiefs are already on the field. They're warming up. But ultimately, you know, I'll tell you, there are some players that they are situation proof, man. No matter what the situation is, you're going to go ahead and start them. You know, like you're always going to start. Smartest first pick this year is probably, you got to go running back most likely, and you're probably going to go Christian McCaffrey because that guy is he is a fantasy, man. It doesn't even matter if his team wins. He's one of those guys, Canyon, that's situation proof. It doesn't matter if he's at home or away or who they're playing or what kind of defense he's facing. He's going to get touches, and that's the most important part. So honestly, yeah, if you got to pick first, number one, you're number one in your league, you know, yeah, then Christian McCaffrey is probably that guy. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get points even in losses. So he's probably the MVP of my team that I have right now. By the way, I mean, even in my not my Raider Reaction, but my Hardcore Challenge team, last year I broke scoring records. I broke the single week scoring record. I broke the record for the seasonal record. Now that's a good question, Jason. I like this one here. You know, what do I think about Big Ben and AJ Green? Well, AJ Green, as much as I, you know, want to just go all in on AJ Green, I can't right now. Not with a rookie quarterback. Yeah, Joe Burrows is supposed to be pretty studly, you know, but it's going to take him a couple of games at least, you know. I mean, rookie quarterbacks don't really have a knack for, I don't know, having really good seasons. There's an occasional one, and that's about it. So AJ Green, I mean, if you can get him late or if you can trade him for nothing, you know, then yeah, do so. Because I think his value, AJ Green's value, is really going to be later in the season. Now, with Big Ben, you know, Ben Roethlisberger, I'm not a fan of the man, but I do appreciate the football player. And with that, I will say that guy rolls out of bed and throws 4,000 yards. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger lets it fly. Him and Smith-Schuster. Smith-Schuster has a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove because he really hasn't done what anyone thought he would do when Antonio Brown left the Steelers, you know? So Big Ben, he is going to have, I mean, man, this might be his last year too, you know? So that guy, if he stays healthy, he's going to have a great season. He's going to throw a boatload, and he's going to be the reason they win a lot of games, if they win a lot of games, and the reason they lose a lot of games. But ultimately, in fantasy football, you know, he's going to have 4 touchdown games. He has them every season. There's at least one game, multiple games, if you will, where the guy throws 4 touchdowns, you know? Like, if that doesn't get you a fantasy win, I don't know what will, you know? Because it's all about touchdowns. It's all about touches. It's all about getting those scores, you know? But, you know, for both of those offenses, both the Bengals and the Steelers, you know, I don't think they necessarily have those kind of guys that are situation proof, as I've been talking about so far, you know, and that's just it. With AJ Green AJ Green's probably the most talented player on that Bengals offense right now, you know, as far as we know, because we haven't seen Joe Burrow do squat in the NFL. So we haven't seen that. So, but here we are. I'm so happy. Everybody's so happy. The football season is upon us. I got it over here on my TV. So yeah, if you can, you know, let me go ahead and bring up the NFL schedule, so I can tell you exactly what AJ Green and Big Ben are going to do this weekend. So anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in on. I came up on Big Ben and Juju, so hopefully, yeah. That's a tactic, I'll tell you, Jason. That is a tactic that is pretty beneficial in fantasy football. I call it the double tap, you know, and that's where you pick up that quarterback and that wide receiver, tight end, or even a running back that catches the ball, you know, and you get points on both ends. You know, the guy who threw the touchdown, the guy that ran the touchdown, you know, and you double it up. Always a good tactic. Always good. But yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster, like I said before, man, he has got a chip on his shoulder. He's looking to get paid and prove that he's the man that everyone thinks he is. Man, I admit, I am seeing myself at the same time here, and seeing me without my beard that I've had all of this whole COVID thing is crazy. Like, I don't even recognize my chin. Anyway, or any of my chins. Anyway, but what are Big Ben and Juju going to do this weekend is what I am looking up right now, because I don't have the NFL schedule just locked into this brain. Can't tell you all the matchups. I can tell you Houston is about to play Kansas City, but that's because they're on my television right over there. So I am going to be doing this weekly. In fact, on Thursdays, about an hour or so before kickoff, I'll go over all of the fantasy questions you guys have. I'll also, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be talking fantasy football, and that's why the name of this show is Prime's Fantasy Island. Catch me on Thursdays around 6:30 Central Time. So, hello! What up, Becky? Would I start Watson over Ben? Deshaun Watson? Every day. Day in, day out. Just, Watson is one of those guys, dude. Like, he runs and he passes. This year, I don't even know who he's gonna throw the ball to. Like, is Will Fuller gonna be his main guy? The guy from the Los Angeles Rams? His name is escaping me. Hello, internet. Yeah. Wide receiver. He was a Ram last year. Anyway, you don't know who really is going to be Watson's number one, but the fact that he doesn't like to just go down, man. He will hold the ball too long looking to make that play, which, you know, if you're the coach, that's terrible. But if you're a fantasy football owner of Deshaun Watson, then indeed. But I would say that I'm going to give Ben a pass. I don't know if I would start him week 1, but once that guy catches his stride, because, you know, we had no preseason. We had barely any training camp. Everything was abbreviated and everyone had their own, I guess, schedules and stuff. But, I would definitely start Deshaun Watson over Ben Roethlisberger. So, yeah, keep coming with your questions. You know, I was talking about these situation-proof players. And obviously Christian McCaffrey is one. Obviously Ezekiel, all the big running backs, Saquon Barkley, yeah, definitely. You're going to start these guys no matter what. At quarterback, you're going to start, Deshaun Watson, whom I just mentioned. You're going to start Lamar Jackson. You're going to start, Mahomes, and all those guys. I mean, you're going to start Russell Wilson. And then that kind of gets a little, I wouldn't even start Tom Brady every single week, because Tom Brady's going to have weeks where the guy throws for, 12 points or something like that. 12 points out of your quarterback position is not going to get it done, Instead, give me the guy that could potentially, I want that high ceiling kind of player. That's why I have Deshaun Watson actually. And you can tell if you've heard so far about my own team why I broke so many records last year. Because, when you got Deshaun Watson, Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, as your core, ooh boy, you're going to score a lot of points because those are pretty much top 3 players at their position. So, let me bring up the schedule so I can see who everyone's facing. And that would definitely help, So, for instance, people were talking about Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers are let's see who the Steelers are playing. Scroll, darn it. All right, so is it no Chargers Bengals? No, that's not okay. And oh no, go back. I have no interest in the Bears and Lions, but whoa. All right, I guess I'm getting messages here now. Hey, what up, Keith? You the man? All right, Raider Man Galvin. All right, Mr. Galvin, Raider Nation Graphics, sweet. All right. Graphics legend. Well, I don't know what that has to do with fantasy football. I'm glad to see that you are a graphics legend. I am a fantasy football legend. Just kidding. I don't know if I've reached legendary status. I still haven't won the whole championship at Hardcore Challenge, I admit. I've been to the Super Bowl a couple times now, but I seem not to win in the Super Bowl. But I get there. I break all kinds of records. I've got, I had like 1 regular season loss last year, I think. Anyway. And plus I play in another league, which I have won a couple of times now. They always give me crap because I call my team the best team on paper, and that's where it counts. So, anyhow, come on, keep coming with your fantasy football questions, and I will be happy to answer them and give you all the information you need. So, it's going to be Steelers-Giants. So, with that in mind, the Giants and the Steelers at the Giants, no less. That's on Monday night. All right. Well, the Giants' defense is not terribly much, they're not a good defense. And anyway, the Giants don't have a good defense. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jason. The Giants don't have a good defense. So, in fact, I think they would it would be an all right matchup for Ben Roethlisberger and Juju Smith. So the guy who brought up Ben in the first place, if indeed you do have Juju, I think it's worth the gamble. I would roll with Ben and Juju, double up on those points, get those. I mean, the Giants gave up Prince Amakamura, and you remember that guy? Huh? Remember that guy? Yeah. He was a Raider for about 3 seconds. So. The wide receivers, of course, that I think are situation proof. They are, Michael Thomas is definitely one. DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, definitely are all players that are situation proof. But like, who are some of the guys? And I'll start with wide receivers that are not just like your mainstays. Who are some of the guys that you're gonna have to take a look at, see who they face or what have you, or they're gonna be your wide receiver 2 or 3, And when I think about that, I start with DK Metcalf, because DK Metcalf actually, he was a rookie last year for the Seattle Seahawks, And it wasn't until later in the season that he really began to develop a chemistry with Russell Wilson. And all right, Raider man, Galvin, man, I appreciate you. Good. Yeah, heck yeah, right on. But he really started to develop a chemistry with Russell Wilson last year towards the end of the season, and I would wager that DK, he's going to be the number one receiver in Seattle this year. I don't think Tyler Lockett is good, but I think he's, getting a little up there, getting a little long in the tooth. No pun intended. And yeah, so, other wide receivers, there's a Steven Sims that is making some noise for the Washington football team. And this is a guy that towards the end of last season, like the last 4 games, he had over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns the last 4 games of the season, and really started to show some chemistry with the Washington quarterback there. So look at this guy, says, "You the man, Keith." Keith Horenza. What do you mean, look at this guy? I know, man. I lost I had to put the hat back on because the rest of my head doesn't even look right without this beard. I don't know. I don't feel, it's strange. It's strange. Not the prime you've seen all Corona. But, I don't know. Saints, they're facing the Buccaneers, so you got a bunch of fantasy players in there. Alvin Kamara is another one of those players that you're not going to bench at all. Anytime that guy is on the field, you're going to start him. Drew Brees, absolutely. I think he's probably the best old quarterback there is. Old quarterback, because we got some old quarterbacks hanging out. Especially, I don't know, Tom Brady is ancient. I wouldn't trust Tom Brady weekly on a fantasy level at all. No. Especially, Bruce Arians is not the offensive coordinator that for New England. Definitely not Belichick, but Belichick was he's more of a defensive guy. But I'm thinking more about, what's his name, the offensive coordinator. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is this, all right? Tom Brady's going to end up holding the ball a lot longer, waiting for plays to develop, because that's how Bruce Arians runs his offenses. Like, those wide receivers have to get way downfield, and it's going to take some time, And check down Tom, I don't know if he's going to be of fantasy relevance every week, but another sleeper. I'm going to talk about tight ends for a minute. Everybody knows George Kittle. Everybody knows Zach Ertz. Everybody knows Travis Kelce or whatever. And so anyway, all those tight ends, man, they're fine. They're fine. But I got 2 sleeper tight ends, right? I think Waller. If you caught the show the other night, he was my Raider. I forget what show I was watching. I had to go back out and make sure it's really. That's funny. Yeah, tell me about it, right? I don't even know who I am right now. Nah, it's still Prime. This is Prime's Fantasy Island, if you're just joining us, where I go on just before kickoff and I talk fantasy football. Yeah, that's right. I'm a bit of a fantasy football guru, I admit, names escape me because I don't have a producer or anything like that. But, hey, it is what it is. I tell you, if you ask me a question, I'll give you the best answer you can possibly find. And you know what? I can beat Matthew Berry in fantasy football. So, there you go. Anyway. But I said Waller was going to be a breakout tight end. I think also what you have to look at is the return of Gronk. Gronkowski down there in Florida, with the Bucks. That kind of chemistry, the chemistry between him and Tom Brady, that doesn't go away. Like, that's going to be solid. Gronkowski's going to have better fantasy numbers than Tom Brady's going to have. J.J. Watt's going to frustrate KC today. Yeah, J.J. Watt, if he's healthy, man, if his back is healthy, people sleep on J.J. Watt, And I happen to play in a fantasy football league where they have defense. Yeah, thank you, Raider Man Galvin. I appreciate the compliment there. But no, J.J. Watt, man, people forget how good that guy really was. You literally had to triple team that guy at times. J.J. Watt would wreck a game plan all by himself. So could he do that? Could he do that to Kansas City? Absolutely. If you get a healthy J.J. Watt, think about it. There was a reason that Houston was able to give up the defensive end that just got signed by the Titans. But anyway, there's a reason why they gave up some serious talent on the Houston Texans defense and stuck with J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is still there, and boy, if you have independent defensive players, J.J. Watt is considerable simply because of the amount of sacks that guy gets. You got a healthy J.J. Watt, you're going to get 10-plus sacks that season, guaranteed. That's all a guy does, but he's got a back and he's got a knee and a shoulder or something like that, man. Hopefully he comes back, all prepared. Ooh, Andy Reid's wearing a face shield. And yeah, there you go. Super Bowl winning coach Andy Reid. Yeah, I know you guys don't like that guy. That's cool though. I appreciate his offenses. I admit, I became a fan of Andy Reid when he was in Philadelphia and Westbrook was my running back. I never went with Donovan McNabb as my quarterback in fantasy football. No. But that year that T.O. was there, that year that Terrell Owens was a Philadelphia Eagle, and it was him and Donovan, they went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, they went to the Super Bowl. That year, boy, T.O. and Donovan lit it up. And that's all Andy Reid, man. People forget. They just think of Chiefs, man. But nah, man, Andy Reid's been around a while, And that's why I appreciate the Walrus. So, let's see. They got the talking heads out on the channel now, getting ready for this football. Hey, it's the old coach. Right on. Anyway, so you can't forget about tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. You got your guys that you're going to start regardless. And, of course, the other guys, you got to do a little more research on. But, hey, if you come to me with any questions about your fantasy football team, which is getting ready to kick off here, I don't know, they need a running clock or something to tell me that the game's going to start in so many minutes. So, I'm not really sure. But, Raider Man, I see you have posted a lot, man. You're a graphic stud, apparently, which I sincerely appreciate. But, man, tell me, do you have a fantasy football team? Keith, do you have a fantasy football team? And any of the supporters, I tell you what, supporters, hit me up. I'll give you my deepest, darkest fantasy tips, man. All my fantasy secrets. All you got to do is ask for all the supporters. Maybe that's just a benefit of being a supporter. So don't forget to follow Raider Reaction on all of our platforms, such as YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget RaiderReaction.com. Become a supporter and get all of the content, plus some. Plus, we have raffles every month, once a month. So become a supporter. Be in the raffle. Get all the cool Raider gear you can imagine. The coolest Raider gear you can imagine. Like, you'd be amazed. But anyway, I think the game that's going to feature the biggest fantasy, it's going to have the biggest fantasy impact, though. It's not, this one is pretty, this one has a lot of impact, but, wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, and then, can't say, that's about it, Now, running backs, Hilaire was a darling of the draft, if you will, the Kansas City running back. I don't know what happened. I think it's because he actually, Andy Reid compared Hilaire to Brian Westbrook, so that's how that happened. Most people are picking KC, but some people are picking the Texans. I think I picked the Texans. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. The commish will remind me. Well, I tell you what, we are just moments away from kickoff. So, once again, this is Prime's Fantasy Island. I will be on every Thursday before the game kicks off to provide you with all the fantasy knowledge you need. You ask the questions. If not, I'll talk about some stuff here and there. But ultimately, this show is for you guys. If you play fantasy football, you don't want to trust Matthew Berry. Come to Prime. I'll set you straight, dude. Like, I broke records. I'm telling you, man. Championships. You smell that in the air? It's another championship coming my way. That's right. So, in the meantime, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your friends. Prime's Fantasy Island. It's the coolest. And I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to follow us on everything. This is Prime on Prime's Fantasy Island, and I'm out.